Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to the second episode of Unlocking Data series, where we uncover everything you need to know around personal data sovereignty in Web3, including topics around data ownership in the metaverse. Let's dive deep into talking to Mark, who is the founder of Etheum and has joined us all the way from Sydney, Australia. Hi, Mark. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, Anita. Nice to be back again.
So, Mark, let's dive deep into understanding a bit more about Etheum on multiple blockchain platforms, right? What will be the possible blockchains that Etheum can run on?
So Etheum is multi-chain, and it aims to be multi-chain, cross-chain from the day one implementation. And why is this important? Because what we're doing with Etheum is related to data. And everybody around the world has data. Everyone might have their own preference in terms of what blockchain they use. So we can't pick a specific blockchain and just get it running on that. So it's very important to understand that the future is multi-chain, and Etheum will be multi-chain from day one. The product that we have built, it's called the Data DEX, and we have deployed it to EVM compatible chains. We've deployed it to Ethereum, to Polygon, BSC. We've also deployed it to Parastate, and we've also done Harmony as well. Just because we have it ready working on EVM, it doesn't mean that it won't work on non-EVM chains. So we're working on an implementation for Hedera as well as Elrond as well. So the key thing to understand here is Etheum is not specific to EVM or the technology that underpins a blockchain. What it is that it's a protocol that can be implemented in any runtime, right? So, and that's very important to know. So going back to the original question, it's very important for a platform like Etheum to be multi-chain. And so we are designing it from day one to be multi-chain.
That's awesome. So, that you said that these are the multi-chains that it would, the multi-chain blockchain run, and that would run, I'm so sorry. So that's very interesting, Mark, to know. But now the question arises, what do you aim to solve by adopting a multi-chain support?
If you look at, let's look at an example, right? Let's look at DeFi platforms right now. DeFi platforms that are aligned to a single chain can only work with people who are willing to use that single chain. And we're starting to see limitations there. For example, platforms that run on Ethereum, gas prices are way too high. So what we really need to do is when we are designing the next generation of Web3 platforms, we have to abstract away what chain it runs on. Now, something like what chain it runs on was quite important. Like 2 years ago, everybody was just aligning to specific chains. And what we started to see is that's just like another silo. They're just going and getting locked into a single silo. So when we started designing it, our first implementation was an EVM compatible version, but now we're started to look at, okay, how could we completely abstract away the lower levels? So you will still use a single app. So when you log in into our decentralized app, you won't even know what's happening behind the scenes. It'll detect your chain and it'll show and hide various features according to what's compatible. Why is this important? Well, again, we can't be biased on what chain we pick based on certain conditions. We want Etheum to be a fully open platform. It's public goods. It could be from a wealthy country, it could be from a poor country. From a wealthy country, you might not care about paying $50 in gas fees, but if you're from a poor country, you can't afford that. So our platform needs to be completely objective in that sense. And that's why it's so important that we are multi-chain.
So as you have mentioned, so Etheum is going to be the first decentralized data brokerage platform. Now, if we see, what advantage does Etheum hold against the other competitors who are trying to achieve the same without going multi-chain?
Yeah, so a lot of the competition that we have, they are actually entering into multi-chain. But a lot of them had been previously only on a single chain. So now they're saying, we can't do that. We have to now branch out. So they've started looking at implementations. The difference with Etheum is when we designed it to be multi-chain and not just pick a chain and then work out how do we retrofit other stuff into it. So the advantages is, yes, we're by design, we're thinking about how we could get it working on EVM and non-EVM chains. The other key differentiator with Ethereum is we're thinking about how do you truly do multi-chain. In other words, at its lowest form, Ethereum is a data trading platform, it's a data brokerage platform. So for example, Anita, you could sell me your data peer-to-peer, I could sell you mine. I'm just simplifying it. That generally wouldn't be the way it happens. It would be fully done seamlessly. But you could be running on Ethereum, I could be on Polygon, for example. And we use the same app and the actual trade. So when you send me data, I'm going to verify your data across chain, and I'm going to pay you with MIDA tokens, which is in Polygon, which will then be bridged onto Ethereum. It will all be done in an atomic transaction. So we are the only we are the only protocol, as far as I know, in the data space that's doing true cross-chain transactions of data as well as token bridging as well during an atomic transaction. So that's something where we are, I would say that we are trying to pioneer, almost to design from day one with this in mind.
Right. As I see, you are designing multi-chain from the day one. Now, coming to understanding of what would be the future, of Ethereum and its multi-chain. So, as you said, for the peer-to-peer transactions, you can actually be doing it without worrying about, which chain you are on. But can you throw some light on how futuristic is it, and what are the possibilities for that in the future?
One thing to call out, doing fully multi-chain interoperability for something like Ethereum, so moving data, bridging tokens, all in a single atomic sort of way, is very difficult to do. And also the way blockchains work, they're quite siloed in that way, and you've got to do interchain communication, which can sometimes be very slow, and a lot of the technology available in the form of bridges and relays can end up being quite centralized. So trying to achieve something like this is tricky, but if we can pull it off, it's quite amazing, because what we're saying is we're building a true global infrastructure for data exchange, regardless of what chain you pick, right? And why this is important is because if we can pull it off, then you can see people building apps on Ethereum or people trading data on Ethereum completely free of having to align to a specific ecosystem or a chain. This is also a form of decentralization. We are not telling people you have to use Ethereum, you have to use Polygon. We're saying pick your chain and Ethereum will adopt to you. And this is the way we really want to build from the ground up. And we are actually close to building our first bridge between Ethereum and our implementation in Avalanche. And we're hoping to demo that real soon. But that will show you how you can actually sell data on one chain, buy it on the other chain, and the tokens get bridged as well. So yes, super excited with that development, and hopefully we can do a demo for all of you very soon.
That's really amazing, Mark, the way we see future of Ethereum. It's really interesting. But something that comes to my mind when we say a number of blockchains be beyond, say Ethereum does support, so does support over a number of blockchains mean more threat to security and more doors to guard, or is that a factor not at play?
Yes, of course. The more you try to support, the more you sacrifice in terms of control over security. Non-EVM is you got to write new code almost from scratch. Now, one way we have experimented now with working with Hedera Hashgraph is, instead of building a Web3 app, we're looking at building what we call decentralized middleware. Almost, how do we abstract an API that's not centralized? Somehow we got to get this API running in a decentralized way that can coordinate all the transactions within Hedera Hashgraph. And keep in mind, all of this is a single app. So whether you're on Ethereum or Hedera, you're going to see the same UI. It's all happening behind the scenes. But when we start adding more chains and then start having to have interoperability between chain A and chain B and chain C, chain D, all of these bridges and relays start overlapping. And just to let you guys know, bridges and relays are what is used to coordinate interchain communication. So when you start having these overlapping relays and bridges, you're going to start to expose more and more of an attack vector, right? So yes, we take it quite seriously. This is the reason why we didn't just immediately start doing cross-chain stuff. We're actually just doing one now, which is the Avalanche and Ethereum one. And once we can demo that, we'll go through the security mechanical procedures, we'll get the audits done, and then we'll add one more, the next chain, and eventually we'll do EVM to non-EVM. But of course, very, very challenging problem to solve, but we are thinking about it from day one.
Great. Now, that also gives birth to the question that does it enter different chains at different timelines? And if yes, so what are those timelines?
Yeah, so if you're talking about whether we are a timeline to deploy, yes, that's right. So we'll start with more robust chains first. So at this stage, Ethereum seems to be almost like our base chain. That might change, but the reason it is our base chain is because we have tested quite heavily with Ethereum, and it's almost like the layer one, right? It's the base layer we want to implement in Ethereum, and then we have other chains communicating. So the work we've done so far is all EVM-based chains. We started on non-EVM based protocols as well. So the timeline would be somewhere along the lines of Ethereum probably first. Then we'll start looking at where else do we have a larger community. And again, this is community driven. So ETM's community is now growing to different sort of ecosystems. So wherever these ecosystems want us to bridge into, we would do it. So for example, we have got quite a lot of supports in Polygon. So if we deploy to Ethereum, the next might be Polygon, and then we work on the bridges and the relays. If we get a bigger ecosystem or a community elsewhere, then we will build into that. So we are almost going to be reactive to the community. If the community wants us in a specific chain and there is a lot more users there, we're going to go into those chains. I should mention also that Ethereum has we are launching our ambassador program. And what this is we're going to have ambassadors who might be aligned to various chains. And they are going to rally communities to test our features, right? So it's very important, being an open platform, that we get the community involved in testing. And then, the ambassadors will coordinate that, and then there'll be rewards given out for testing our features. And then that also drives the roadmap as to when we deploy into which chain.
That's great. So I guess people who are listening to this and would like to be ambassadors, you can surely reach out to Mark or someone in the ETM team and take advantage of that ambassador program. I think that's really interesting, Mark, that you have come up with something like that. Now, again, that we are talking about chains, can you throw some light on how getting into the Polkadot ecosystem can help Ethereum grow?
For us, Ethereum as a platform that's being built now, and we've had something already working in 5 testnets, it's very important that we start thinking about interoperability. This is how we differ from most of our competitors who have built and now are trying to retrofit interoperability. So Polkadot is something we have always been very interested in, and not just Polkadot, just any sort of protocol or a blockchain platform that from their sort of design, it was interoperability based, and Polkadot is such a chain. They envision a future where you can run any chain you want, and they have their relay chain that's kind of coordinating everything. So that's, we have always been very excited about that. But Polkadot is a different environment to build into. They are substrate-based parachains. And that's why we were so interested when we discovered Parastate, because Parastate had done an EVOS implementation on a parachain, which means we could deploy our entire contract sets and our protocol into Parastate, which aims, I believe, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I believe they are going to try to become a parachain in Polkadot. And if that happens, now we have a gateway to Polkadot. Again, I don't know the time frame for this. We're now kind of aligned to what Parastate's doing, but that's not stopping us also thinking about implementing our own version that fits into Polkadot. Right now, we are not thinking about that, but we could start adding that to our roadmap and say, listen, we will aim to build a native bridge or an implementation within Polkadot. But yes, looking at which chains are preaching the ethos of interoperability, that's something we're very excited about, and then trying to see if we can work with that somehow.
Great. This was a very interesting conversation with you, Mark. Honestly, learned so many new things, and I am sure people who watch this would, get more interest in ETM. Let's also talk about some new things in the coming episode. I would love to have you again on the show.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to be here and talk about Ethereum. Ethereum still in its early stages, and we are seeing our community grow at a crazy pace. So this kind of medium for us to explain what we're doing and how weekly progress is great. So happy to be on. Maybe the next time we can talk about some of our cool new features in the metaverse and gaming. That should get everyone.
Yeah. Awesome. That sounds really interesting. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you for having me, and thanks everybody. Bye-bye.